Welcome to ShawTalk, and I'm your host, Tiffany Shaw. As many of you already know, we try to bring you a show with guests in 3 different areas: healing hearts, local celebrity or public official, and spotlight on youth. We're really lucky today because we have 2 very special guests, and one, we're starting off with our spotlight on youth. I'm really excited to bring to you an extraordinary young person from our very own Robbinsdale Cooper High School. There's really no better way to introduce Jael to you than reading an excerpt of her paper that brought her to my attention. One of the coordinators, actually 2 different coordinators at Cooper High School, brought her name to my attention, and as soon as I read her paper, I knew that she was the one that we would need to spotlight today. So I want to start by reading this to you. She says, "My name is Jael Kerandi. I'm a 16-year-old and a sophomore at Cooper High School. I play volleyball and I'm on the step team. As I began to understand the whole concept of stereotypes, I was constantly aggravated by the way in which people were treated based on preconceived notions. As a child in elementary school, I was bullied based on my skin color. Although it's hard to believe, I remember a young girl telling me she was not allowed to play with me because I was black. I remember walking away thinking how she could immediately judge me without knowing my character, and as a young 2nd grader, that was a tough pill to swallow. Ever since then, anytime I saw a mountain too high or doubt in someone's eyes, I remember that girl's voice, and that gave me every reason to prove them wrong." From that experience, Jael has since been inspired, after watching many of her friends become teen moms, to come up with a project that would make an impact in our community and shed light on the fact that they're not failures, but they can succeed as well. So please welcome Jael Kerandi. Hi, Jael. Thank you. The rest of your proposal is outstanding. My producers would not let me read the whole thing. So here we are, and I want you to take a moment to tell me about the idea that, the mistake in a single story and where that concept came from, because that's the project that you're working on.
So initially I received the concept from my English teacher, and we watched a video on the speech from Chinchibenda Adichie called "The Danger in Voicing a Single Story." And it's basically speaking about how hard it is for people to go through life immediately when someone makes a judgment or immediately applies a stigma towards their life without really knowing who they are. And that was something I constantly saw with teen moms as well as just other students, but mainly teen moms, that they wouldn't graduate, they wouldn't make it far in life, and it was something that wasn't fair. Besides the bullying and everything, it was an immediate reaction by not only students but teachers as well.
Right, and so you said in your proposal that you've known girls that became teen moms and that you've heard teachers and people in their lives tell them things like, "Oh, your life's over," or, "You can't really achieve the same things," or put those dreams on the back burner, and it really inspired you, from the story of, there are benefits to telling a single story, but there's a downfall as well. So tell us a little bit about what was your project and proposal, what are you working on?
So basically what I did was, I worked with my advisor, Ms. Burkholder at Cooper, and basically she's helped me find 5 teen moms, 4 at a NEC, an alternative school, and 1 at Cooper. And basically they're just girls who really want to go to college, really want to achieve their dreams and make something of themselves, despite what obstacles have come in their life.
Right. And so you spent quite a bit of time with these girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what all entailed your project? Because I know the end result is, a benefit you're putting on in kind of this final project. But what are some of the things that you've done to help make sure you're really staying true to sharing their story?
Basically, my biggest thing has been going to smaller groups of kids and really talking to them about the single story itself, and especially the stigma. I've done discussion groups ranging from ages 9 to 60, and just kind of speaking to them about how hard it is for somebody to go through a society where they're constantly being put down, and also just meeting with the girls and talking to them, seeing how they're doing, and just kind of learning their struggles as well.
Right, and what are some of the things you've learned from these girls since following them?
Oh my, they're extremely, extremely resilient. They're very strong women who know what they want, and it's almost eye-opening to think how somebody can have everything against them and go against it themselves and rise above it.
Right. And part of that learning their story was like learning what their days look like and how much it really takes to stay being a good student.
Right.
And some of them are working and going to school, and so to you, what were some of the things you learned? What does their average day look like that's different from your day?
My day is more, I would say the biggest thing is focused on me. I know what I need to do. I have my mom helping with what to do. They're basically almost on their own, but they have so much to do. It's not only I have to go to school, it's getting my son to school as well. It's getting him to daycare. It's coming home and taking care of him, putting him to bed before I can do homework. Or, I have to go to work to get money for diapers and such as. So it was more of looking at them. They're so selfless that it's almost like it's so exhilarating to see that. They're so selfless and they're so dedicated to their son or daughter's life, and it's just amazing.
I'm glad you used that word, because especially with young people and teen parents, a lot of people don't use that word. Actually, a lot of the time they use the opposite, would be selfish. And so the fact that you, as one of their peers, has observed them and listened to their story and now are going to give them a voice to say these are really selfless young people, I think is really awesome. And also it shows that, you're very mature for your age. Okay,
Thank you.
So this is a good project for Jael. Not only are you a good representation of young people nowadays, but the girls that you happen to be interviewing and that chose to participate and help you complete the project are also very mature.
Right.
And that's part of Youth Spotlight and why we chose you, is that you were very articulate in sharing why this meant so much to you.
Thank you.
And so as part of the final project, you have been touring to different groups. What are some of the things that you share with the groups when you talk to them?
Basically, I like to do an activity with them where I show them a picture of what a teen mom or what they would consider to be a drug dealer, or what they do, or somebody coming from a place like Harlem where they don't expect you to make much of yourself. And then I show them people like Solange Knowles, who was a teen mom and makes a lot of herself. Or you see somebody like Diddy, who's a really rich rapper but came from Harlem and was told he wouldn't make something of himself. And just and the activity always makes them realize how quick they are to judge, or how it's very easy as a society to judge. So that's always an exciting part, is seeing their reactions after and how they felt about it.
Right, and so out of that, you've collected stories and you're sharing stories, kind of challenging your own peers and younger people to think about judgments and how quick we are to judge people. But also out of this project, I know you kind of have an end celebration that you're planning, and I believe is it March 7th?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this event and what it means, and what your plan is for this event?
So as I said earlier, they're always put down. It's always so much negativity about them. So I wanted to do something that brings them, that celebrates their lives, celebrates their accomplishments. So the first Saturday in March, we'll be having a really small, intimate, celebratory dinner for them, just to kind of recognize who they are and how much they've actually accomplished. Most of them, their sons and daughters are about 1 to 2 years old. So, that's a long time, and just even reaching this far and still being able to go in school is a huge accomplishment in itself.
Precisely. And there's a few, key, planners that are helping you do this.
Yeah.
So is there anybody like at school or in the community that you want to help, give some credit to? Maybe
Of course. Woo. Mr. Howard, our football coach, amazing person, has helped me tremendously. We have Heidi, she's our grant writer at school, has helped me in ways I cannot even imagine.
She is fabulous, and so is Coach Howard.
Very, very much so. Mr. Stewart has helped me find things. Miss Burkholder, my advisor, is amazing. She's helped me with this project since last year, March, and she's been amazing. And just even the support I've gotten from my family to help has just been great, and God especially has helped me with this project.
Great. Well, and I didn't know that. Last March. How long have you been planning this for?
My idea came around February when we were introduced to it, and I introduced my idea to Ms. Burkholder in about March and worked on it over the summer and revising, and I finally began planning in about, it was August, I believe, yes.
Wonderful. So that's a long time. Also, for your age, because you're only 16, and you started this obviously as, a 9th grader in high school, and now you're kind of executing as a 10th grader. And to know that you have that much forward thinking, to know that you're planning in that much detail and really executing a plan, that this is taking a lot of people to coordinate and to execute. So again, a spotlight for you is for so many reasons, just because you're really kind of breaking down every stereotype everybody has of young people. Like you're just out here, Instagramming and doing whatever. I don't even know. I can't keep up myself. So you're doing really outstanding things, and you're forward thinking, and you're planning for your future. What do you have planned for your future?
Well, as of currently, I would like to be a pediatrician. I love kids, and that just really excites me.
So I have to ask that, bonus question, which is, that's a lot of school.
Yes.
So are you ready for that much school?
I think after I think the push I've gotten from my parents has just really helped me. It's more of, my dad always tells me, take one step at a time, you know. Don't look at it as 12 years of school. Look at it as, I'm gonna get through this semester, and then I only have 3 more to go, you know, and that always helps me. And also, my faith in God has just helped me tremendously with school as well.
Which is another thing, again, young people kind of sometimes get a negative stereotype, and you're a great example. I just have to, you know, uplift you, and that's why you're here, which is you have a strong faith, and I think a lot of, you know, young and old people think that young people just are losing the faith. So to know that that's a really, you know, important part of your life, and that's what things are centralized around is really important. So a pediatrician, that is a large goal. So no wonder that you're participating. Some people may not know, Jael is also an IB student, an International Baccalaureate student, which means she takes really accelerated classes, and that this project is actually part of one of her personal projects that she can opt to complete the IB diploma program. So it's, you know, a little bit even harder than I would say advanced placement classes. So she's really pushed herself to the limits. And as someone who gets to see her grades, I know that Jael does really great in these classes. And so you're continuously pushing yourself. And you did something also selfless. This project, I've heard that you're trying, you know, as part of this final gala to recognize these girls, to give them things to help, you know, with their children. So whether it's, you know, donations and gift cards or whatnot. So continuously showing that you're selfless and that you're willing to give back to your community is obvious as well. So the last thing I wanted to ask though, because you do volleyball and step and canto choir and many other activities. So how have you managed your school life and your extra activities? Because that's a lot. How do you manage that? How would you give advice maybe to other students watching? Like, you're obviously considered, you know, a higher achieving student, and how do you balance and manage your life?
Honestly, as my sister has always told me, prioritizing. You have to know what needs to get done and when. And also really just kind of putting everything in a calendar or just really mapping everything out will help you achieve your goals. And just that moment when you cross something off a list, you feel really good, that kind of thing will really help you, as well as knowing your limits too.
Precisely. Have you ever gotten to a point where you feel like, okay, I'm doing too much?
Oh, definitely.
And what do you do when you get there, when you realize, like, I have signed up for too many activities?
I think about more of the end result. It's always been to me, what will I get out of this? Or how do I feel about this? Or what's more important to me at the moment? And that's how I decide what I need to do and what I need to drop.
Wonderful. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit because we're going to run out of time here in just a second, which is unfortunate. Sorry.
It's okay.
But part of your story was, you know, having first experienced kind of, you know, racism or injustice, and you know, being a victim many times to misconceptions and being, you know, conceived in a light that isn't reflective of you. And I had this experience picking you up today. We said it. I said, I didn't expect your house to be on the side of Plymouth, you know? And, you know,
Right.
Acknowledging my own preconceived notions of where maybe a brown student from Cooper High School might be living or come from. And so how often do you experience that, would you say, on a regular basis?
It's gotten less now as people get more educated, but it was more that I was always the one African American student in a white classroom, you know. My elementary school was all white. My classrooms now are predominantly white as they increase in African American students, but it was always that, whoa, what is she doing here? How can she be in this class? Is she in the wrong class? Or that kind of thing. And I think as I've grown with these students, they now more see my intelligence or what I can achieve or what other African American students can achieve as well.
Wonderful. So as we wrap up, just one thing, because you are, you know, often in higher classes, one of very few students of color, is there something you'd want to maybe say to your peers around, you know, what would your inspiring words be about, you know, being the sore thumb, you know, when you stick out?
You know, it's at the beginning, it always hurts. It's always like, why are they attacking me? But at the end, when you come out on top and they see what you're really made of, it's an amazing feeling. And never be afraid to try something because of what someone has said about you. And I know that's much easier said than done, but it's always that you are worth more than they're telling you are. And it's always keeping that thought in your mind that's going to keep you going.
Well, you're right. You are definitely probably worth way more than any of us will even know yet. You're probably going to be one of the world's best pediatricians because you are someone who executes everything that you do. So it's been my pleasure to talk to you and share your story with everybody else. So I thank you very much, Jael, for your time.
Thank you.
And as I said before, I love Youth Spotlight, and I am excited because I know for the next 6 months we will have a new Youth Spotlight specifically from Cooper High School, highlighting Robbinsville Cooper High School students, because they do really have some diamonds in the rough over there. And so we thank Jael for her time, because she truly is an exemplary student and a shining beacon of light of what our youth are capable of. And with that, we also get to move on to another extraordinary person in our community, and that is Dominic Mullen. And he made me say I will not introduce him a certain way. So I'll make sure I'll do this right. We want to introduce the church crooner. And he is what I would like to say is an R&B. He's laughing already because I already did it. So he'll correct me in a moment, be ready. But he is what I like to done the clean R&B. So he has a very wonderful explanation of why his name is Church. Chirch, and what it takes to be, an artist and a father and a career person. So please welcome Dominic Mullen. Hi.
Hello, thank you for having
And
me.
I did it on accident, didn't I?
You did it on purpose.
Okay, maybe a little bit, but you can correct me. Really, what the most important part is that I've sampled all your music. Your music is on SoundCloud.
Yes.
I got your message and you're like, hey, will you listen to my music? And of course I would. What you probably don't know is I've listened to you in church a few times, and I don't even think you knew I was there. So I've been at a few church events, and Dominic he's talented. I mean, you play instruments and you sing, and I mean, kind of the full package when it comes to, a dream R&B artist, I think. I mean, not to toot a horn, but what is your inspiration? Because when people go to look you up and they see church, they're gonna see Chirch. What's up with the I?
Okay, so the I is like the biggest thing. It's red all the time. In fact, I always kind of wear the I, this tie. So, it's always red.
Oh.
Sometimes I wear something, a little bit different, a bow tie, but it's always red. And the reason why the I is there is just, it's really for me more than anything else to keep me grounded, to always remind myself that I've got this individual responsibility, and that I'm individually loved.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like the Creator loves everyone individually, and individually, although everyone is loved individually, we're all loved equally.
Right.
And that's something that I feel like I have a responsibility to mimic, is to love everybody equally, and not, for example, do to like the Jaels out there, judge by a cover, and
Right.
you know what I mean, and try to treat people based on any preconceptions. So, and the reason why it's red, for me, I just feel like everybody owes everyone a debt of gratitude, whether you know that person in a personal way or not in a personal way. A lot of us have grandparents that have died in wars and so on and so forth, or people that have just put blood, sweat, and tears into a situation that has paved opportunities for all of us. So, and to go even deeper into it, for me, it's, I feel like I always owe a debt of gratitude to Jesus Christ because of the sacrifice that he made. I feel like that sacrifice in no way gives me a right to be pompous or anything like that, but instead
Right.
it's like it puts a mandate on me to make sure that I'm loving everyone equally and dismissing any judgment. So that's what that's all about.
So you fit right in to be after Jael.
Yes. So Jael,
We
I'm
didn't even
telling
do that
you,
on purpose.
If I never would have did you like that.
So recognizing you as an individual and being individually loved, but giving that love back to everyone. So giving equal love. Really, making sure that your brand means something, which you said, the I is always red, and that's why. And like I said, I listen to music, and I love the fact, we were talking earlier about, like, what would you deem your music in a genre? And you said, well, it's kind of, a genre mix. It's a genre crossover. Like, we are crossing all genres. It doesn't really fit into gospel. It doesn't really just be R&B. So how would you describe your music, and what have other people described it as?
I've collected a lot of what other people have called it, and they call it a kind of a cross between rock and roll and R&B. And it's got a lot of an edge to it. And some of it gets a little bit more calm and soft and, more jazzy. But, I mean, it's pretty eclectic, and I think that's mainly because of the genres that I've studied. After I attended college in St. Paul, I met a lot of musicians that put me on to different genres, and I fell in love with all these different genres
Right.
and just kind of, created this this sound, I think is pretty unique. So, yeah, that's how that happened. And in terms of the message, that also ties into the name.
Right.
You know, some of the messages, you know, if you just listen to the style of it, it sounds angry. You know, some sounds more easy and soft, but it really does depict real life. You know what I
Right.
mean? I try to stay away too much from going into the fantasy world, you know, and stick to some real life scenarios, you know. And the thing about it is it's really a struggle to love.
Right.
Because the truth of the matter is, loving all the time and trying to treat everybody equal is not an easy task.
No, it is not.
You know what I mean? So, and really it takes a very strong individual to love in spite of all of the obstacles. And sometimes your greatest obstacles are like right there with you. It could be the person that you live with, not that they're a regular obstacle,
Right.
but it's like to be able to get past yourself
Right.
and dismiss all self-seeking and, you know, and love when you don't feel like loving, you know what I mean? And then, you know, it's just...
I do. We're both married, so we know all about that. But
So, yeah.
some other people, you're giving a really good description of what that means and what that looks like.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I dig into the bone and marrow of relationship. And let's face it, you know, if we're honest, those who are married, they could tell you that when the highs are there, they're very high. And when the lows are there, they're very low. And the reason is because of how much you've invested into the person that you're with. You know, it's one thing if you didn't love them that much, you wouldn't care that much about everything that's
Right.
going on. But because you're so invested and you love them so much, everything affects you all the more. So, you know, I get a lot into that concept and the battle to never give up loving. And I just feel like we need a lot more of that to be out there, because as is, there's a lot of stuff that basically says give up, you know what I mean?
Right.
Chuck
Well, as I
deuces,
said, I
whatever
like
it
that
is.
you're not raunchy. Like it's not a message to give up. It's not raunchy. Like you're using real stories, real emotions, but you're giving it in, you know, a clean, really kind of, I don't want to say funky for, you know, fear of, you know, people being afraid to turn on your music thing, because we know the connotation to that word. But I mean,
Sure.
it's really clean, heartfelt music that is sharing really important messages that a lot of, particularly young people, aren't hearing. Like, how do I love selflessly? Like, we don't hear that a lot.
Right.
And so it really is quality music.
Thank you, yeah. And you know what, I'm no doctor at the love thing, and that's the reason why I'm able to write so much music when I'm, you know, after
You have a lot of life experience to come from.
Exactly. So I'm, you know, for me, I'm giving my story, and you never know who that can motivate, who that can encourage.
Right.
You know, so that's all. I mean, definitely, I'm not a genius. If I were, I'd have nothing to write about.
Right. So you're the artist, and we will make sure that we share, obviously, the link for SoundCloud and any other links that you have with our viewers. But we also want to talk about the best part of spotlighting our, you know, local public officials and celebrities is that you have real lives. So you might not be, you know, Jay-Z yet, or you might not be, you know, Kirk Franklin yet, but in the midst of that, you have a lot of other life you have to manage on top of being an artist. So you are a dad of two, you are married, and you are working.
Yes.
So who manages, you know, the music? Who manages the life for you?
That would be Tessa Mullen. She is a go-getter like crazy, and she's the steam behind everything that I do. And she's also my wife.
That helps.
It does help, because then I know everything that's going on, it really is my best interest in mind. You know, nothing sneaky with her, so.
Right, so there's no, you know, worrying about someone stealing your money or giving you a schedule you don't like, right? Or
You get the schedule you get, but in terms of like being in any way sneaky, you know, that's something I just never have to worry about. She has my best interest in mind, and she pushes me, you know what I mean? And there's been times where I wanted to give up being an artist. And she's helped me stay motivated, you know, which is very selfless of her, because the music game, it could draw a lot of your energy and attention.
and it can, and you said recently you had to make a decision to kind of pull back from certain areas to focus on others. So, you know, asking, do you have upcoming events and shows? And you said no, because you really are focusing on your music. So what went into that decision around, we're not going to do shows right now and we're really going to focus on recording these albums?
Well, yeah, we made a decision that our last show would be at the end of 2014, which was at First Ave. And after that, we'd stop all the booking, at least temporarily, until we can finish up with a lot of recording. And you know, I got some guys that are raring to get moving. You know what I mean? Because we're starting to get some positive responses. Working with the guy, Corey Stampley, brilliant producer, brilliant musician. Been working with him for years now. And you know, we'll be in the lab trying to make as much magic as we can. So. But yeah, no, pulling back, trying, you know, balancing things, that's tough. You know, it gets really difficult, especially when you feel momentum in one direction and you want to keep it going, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Baby girl's got a band concert I got to get to, or I got to get to her dance recitals or whatever it is, or, you know, I got to get this date night together for the wife. You know,
those are important.
Well, yeah, extremely important, and I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't always try to cultivate my relationship. You know what I mean? As much as I make mistakes, I need to always try to make a conscious effort to remember that this is more important than this music is.
Right. And, you know, funny that you say that, because you are missing your daughter's band concert to be here. I did know that, and, you know, the wife was like, you know, he might not like it, but he's going to come by himself. And so the sacrifices we make.
I'm so sorry, Sydney. I'm going to get there as quickly as I can. I love you, and I know you're going to do a great job, and the finale is going to be even better because I'm going to be there to root you on.
Good. I'm glad you took the moment, because I was like, you want to give her a shout out because you're not there. So now we're both covered.
Yes.
We gave her a shout out, and I'm sure, what instrument does she play?
She's on trumpet.
Oh, that's a good addition. She can play for you then. That's a good
I told her that
instrument.
too. Yeah, I told her, I said, when you get good enough, you can come in the studio and play all the brass work for me.
So is that motivation?
You know what? She took it serious.
Good.
And she's advanced. You know, she's in 6th grade. And of course plays in the 6th grade band, but because she has gotten so advanced, they actually bumped her up to the older kids. So.
Oh, that's why we're going to get you out of here so you can see the end, the older kids.
The older kids are at the end. She's still playing with the 6th graders, so I'm going to miss that part. But at the end, where the more experienced musicians are, that's where she'll be. So it'll be awesome to check her out.
And then you also have a 2-year-old. So you are a father of 2, and they're 10 years apart. So we don't have a lot of time to touch on that, but I'm pretty sure there's plenty of viewers that are probably thinking, yeah, that's crazy. How do you manage your music life, and you have a full-time day job, and then you have 2 kids 10 years apart?
Yeah.
How do you manage all of those? If you had to, you know, look at the crowd and tell our viewers, like, how do you manage, you know, managing your dream, which is the music, and then your passion, which is your family, and then your career?
You have to be as patient as possible, and that means that, you know, you have to try to get yourself to also enjoy the process. You know, it's a slow process when you've got a family. There's a lot of things that you won't be able to do, but always keeping in mind, you know, what's most important. For me, that's family. So I take a patient walk on the way to my goals. So that's all, you know, just staying as patient and as humble as possible during this process.
Patient and humble, so that's great. So I would be doing everybody an injustice if we didn't sneak in one really important part, which is, would you please give us a little sample, maybe a cappella sample of this voice of yours and some of your music?
Yeah, well, what I'll do, it's a Donny Hathaway song, just a little piece of it. It's been really popular and it's been most requested, so. I've been so many places in my life and time. I've sung a lot of songs and made some bad rounds. I've acted out my life on stages with 10,000 people watching. We're alone now, though, and I'm singing this song to you.
Well, thank you. If we had a studio audience, they would be applauding very loudly. So we thank you. We thank you. The ladies in the crew are like, yes, that was great. So thank you so much for your time, Dominic.
Thank you for having me.
I do have to sign out. We will have all the information on our website. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at ShawTalk TV and on Facebook at ShawTalk TV 2014.